Dark Night of the Soul. By St. John the Cross. Book 1. Chapter 3. Some imperfections of spiritual avarice, commonly found in beginners. 1. Many beginners also at times possess great spiritual avarice. They hardly ever seem content with the spirit God gives them. They become unhappy and peevish, because they don't find the consolation they want in spiritual things. Many never have enough of hearing counsels, or learning spiritual maxims, or keeping them and reading books about them. They spend more time in these, than in striving after mortification and the perfection of the interior poverty, to which they are obliged. Furthermore, they weigh themselves down with over-decorated images and rosaries. They now put these down, now take up others. At one moment they are exchanging, and at the next re-exchanging. Now they want this kind, now they want another. And they prefer one cross to another because of its elaborateness. Others you see who are decked out, in agnustes and relics and lists of saints' names, like children in trinkets. What I condemn in this is possessiveness of heart and attachment to the number, workmanship, and over-decoration of these objects. For this attachment is contrary to poverty of spirit, which is intent only on the substance of the devotion, benefits by no more than what procures this sufficiently, and tires of all other multiplicity, and elaborate ornamentation. Since true devotion comes from the heart, and looks only to the truth and substance, represented by spiritual objects, and since everything else is imperfect attachment, and possessiveness, any appetite for these things must be uprooted, if some degree of perfection is to be reached. 2. I knew a person who for more than 10 years, profited by a cross roughly made out of a blessed palm, and held together by a pin twisted around it. That person carried it about, and never would part with it, until I took it. And the person was not someone of poor judgment, or little intelligence. I saw someone else who prayed with beads, made out of bones from the spine of a fish. Certainly, the devotion was not for this reason, less precious in the sight of God. In neither of these two instances, obviously, did these persons base their devotion on the workmanship, and value of a spiritual object. They, therefore, who are well guided from the outset, do not become attached to visible instruments, or burden themselves with them. They do not care to know any more than is necessary, to accomplish good works, because their eyes are fixed only on God, on being His friend and pleasing Him. This is what they long for. They very generously give all they have. Their pleasure is to know how to live for love of God or neighbor, without these spiritual or temporal things. As I say, they set their eyes on the substance of interior perfection, on pleasing God and not themselves. 3. Yet until a soul is placed by God in the passive purgation of that dark night, which we will soon explain, it cannot purify itself completely of these imperfections or others. But people should in so far as possible, strive to do their part, in purifying and perfecting themselves, and thereby merit God's divine cure. In this cure, God will heal them of what through their own efforts they were unable to remedy. No matter how much individuals do through their own efforts, they cannot actively purify themselves enough, to be disposed in the least degree, for the divine union of the perfection of love. God must take over, and purge them in that fire that is dark for them, as we will explain. Chapter 4. Next video. Thanks.